Hello again, I'm Loz and welcome back to Grumpa's workshop. Sunday night, January the somethingth. It's my usual chat. Bit of a melange today. What have I been up to over the past week? Well, you'll have seen it's all chaos in the workshop. I still can't find anything. And this bench is under the weight of all sorts. What came? The router table. Eventually, the T11 router came, so now I have daddy router, mummy router and baby router in the wherever, you'll see, and only one of them is blue, two of them are black, and I'm dead pleased with the T11. That unboxing will be coming shortly as part 3 of my Tale of 3 routers. So that'll be good, that's in editing, but I thought I'd do a general chat about stuff. The channel, right, 530 subscribers, maybe 532. Don't know where you're all coming from, but I'm glad you're here. You're all welcome. That's great. What else was there? I'm still waiting for YouTube to release the community tab. What I want to do on that's like a simplified social media page where you can post, I can post adverts for the YouTubes I've got coming up, and I can post reminders to me past videos by subject and to me past playlists. I can also post links to other YouTubers' videos, and by doing this across different YouTubers' community tabs, where we can get cross-fertilisation of ideas and get people finding YouTubers who they wouldn't otherwise have found. That's the plan. They say a week to 2 weeks before YouTube gets around it. It's been a week. If I don't hear in another week, I'll give them a poke with a sharp stick and see if we can get that up and running. And the other YouTubers I've been talking to, we can all get that working. The other thing I want to ask, I like giving shout outs to little YouTubers to keep them engaged when they get started. I think I've covered everybody so far who's subscribed to me, and most people that I've found independent of that. If you are one, or you know of one that you found interesting, let me know. You can either post in one of the video comments, because I'm on top of that, or you can send it via email to grumpas.workshop.uk@gmail.com. I think that's it. That's what we did on the little giveaway. Right, now, about the giveaway and about the homepage, the community tab. Talking to some of you I know are interested in showing me your stuff. So, starting in February, we'll have a What's on My Bench. So you can post Fred. Fred's a good example. He let slip he had 30 hammers. Well, I would like 30 hammers, but I don't see how anybody can possibly need 30 hammers. Of course, everybody needs 30 hammers. So if Fred, if you can lay them out on your bench, send me a picture to the grumpas.workshop.uk@gmail.com. I'll post it up on the community tab and I'll stick it in a video on the next Sunday roundup. Jim, how about putting those millions of fantastic little vices laid out on your new bench? Take a picture, send it in, and I'll feature it. That's it. Now, what I've been thinking about, these pies. Anna Sue said, why are you buying so many mince pies? You're the only one that eats them. Well, that was rather the point, wasn't it? But cake halfpenny. Well, I know it's a penny. Call it inflation. Cake and halfpenny. A saying of my old nan: you can't have your cake and your halfpenny, and that's what's been holding me up for the past 6 months. I've been saving up for over a decade, and I'm still too tight to fork out on stuff I really want. So, do you remember the tale about the monkey that found a peach in a jar and put its hand in, but couldn't get the thing out because it wouldn't let go? That's me. I won't let go of stuff in my purse. So, well, what I was going to say is, yeah, cheap is not always dear. For instance, when you're starting out, there's at least 3 ways to do everything in a woodworking shop. For instance, you've got a track saw, you've got a table saw, you have a bandsaw, you have hand saws. They'll all do most of what you want to do, some better than others. But do you know which ones you're going to like and which ones are going to suit you? You don't know when you start out. So sometimes plumping, for instance, like that little toy Aldi bandsaw, the little 8-inch one that the works on, I had a little blue one, and it was enough. It was 80 quid, I think, when I bought it. The Record Power Super Duper All Singing All Dancing, I'll never use all its facilities bandsaw, cost me 1,200. I've kitted out the whole workshop prior to buying that for less than half that. Again, you could pay $1,000, $2,000 table saw and it's smashing, but it was a flash in the pan for a weekend woodworker that never gets round to using it much. It's a false economy. Spend $250, $350 on something that'll do what you need to do once or twice a year. So when I started out, now this is a question for you guys, which way did you go? I didn't know what I wanted, so I spent 5 or 6 years buying a lot of the cheap stuff to see which I'd be interested in. For instance, you can make a whole woodshop career out of a scroll saw. You can pay £1,000 for a scroll saw, or you can buy one for under £100 from the middle aisle when they come round. I've got the little blue one, the Work Zone. And aside from upgrading it to take pinless blades and putting it on a stand and getting the right selection of blades, it will do me, because that's never going to be the only thing I use. Similarly, a lathe. You can make a whole woodworking career, hobby career, out of just a lathe and maybe a small bandsaw for cutting the lathe blanks. So you don't need every tool in the shop. So I spent a few years buying stuff randomly, enjoying playing with them, and now I know what I want. So when I replaced maybe a little toy bandsaw, I got the one I know I'm going to grow into, cutting veneers, cutting bigger blocks, putting a thin bandsaw blade on it and doing bandsaw figures and bandsaw boxes. That's great. Eventually I'll grow out of the Rage 5, but at the moment all I'm going to do is put a crosscut sled on it and use it for that. That's enough of a rant. So you can go one way or the other. I favoured the buy cheap, play with it, and then after you've tried half a dozen, choose the 2 or 3 that you want and know you will use. Hence the router table. Right, that's that. Lots of other things have come. I mentioned about wood storage when I started getting more wood in. I'm never going to have a huge pile of wood in the garage. There isn't the space, but I do have 2 racks either side, down the side of that end of the garage, and I repurposed the double hook white office rack shelving. You know, the things you put on the wall and then you hook the shelving on. The problem is, I mentioned, every time you open the garage door or basically walk under them, something falls off. So, especially now I'm putting expensive things like a router and a router table under it, I've got to upgrade them. So, what I've bought, this will feature in if you can see that. Basically, a far more substantial set of racks. Right, that goes on the wall, that racks on. and it's solid enough to take the wood. As I say, I'm not going to hold far. I'm not going to hold a lot, but and I'm only going to have it on the one side away from the new router table. So that's one thing that's coming to the workshop. When I dashed over to help number one son with the kitchen fitting, we killed a power lead jigsaw. So we dashed out the screw fit, and instead of getting the cheaper one, the orange one for 25 quid, we got the Erbauer 750 watt EJS 750. I won't do an unboxing and a review, but it worked perfectly well cutting through the 40mm the worktops. Best experience with a jigsaw we've had, I think, and I'm dead chuffed with that. So that's in the workshop. What else is there? Oh, remember I said I was going to sort out my sound? Well, I said I'd get a Vassier mic, and I got a Vassier mic. In the meantime, I've got better at iMovie, so I've managed to sort out my sound levels better. And when this came, it's got the 2.5mm jack on it and not the Thunderbolt plug. So I've got to get a converter. Again, choosing the wrong things on late night shopping. So that's that. What else have we got? Oh yeah. A while back, I thought this saw blade in my work zone track saw is getting a bit long in the tooth and it's getting a bit blunt. I'll change them. So taking the cover off the body of it, I naffed up the screws, which are cheap panhead screws, and I naffed up the Phillips things. So half of them are stuck. So I've got one of these, a Reister tools, a little set of extractor bits. I'll show you a picture of them in there. Remove damaged screws and bolts. So at some point I'll be doing a little video on fettling the work zone track saw. I've got a new blade, and I'll use these to get the cover off and replace the screws. And I've also got some rubber edge strip to put on the track, and then the edges I cut will be a little more smooth. What came with the T11, got it from a different supplier that I bought the T10 from accidentally. Supplies are short. And the T11 from that supplier came with it comes with the 1/2-inch collet, but it also, as a bonus, came with the 1/4-inch collet, so I'm dead chuffed with that. Lots of other things came. When the lad told us he was going to do the worktops again, I sent off for the little router edging templates, you know, that cut the edges of your worktops on various diameters of curve, and I got a set of these that take me from a 15 diameter to a 40 diameter. There's lots of these on the market, but for the price of 2, I got 4. If you do your shopping around, there's red ones and blue ones. I decided on these because I had 4 in the pack. Turns out that they're not aluminium like most of them, they're plastic, and they came after we'd done the worktop, so they're for the future. They'll be in my drawers. That's fine. Now, what else is there? Oh, following on from doing the router table, the rest of January and probably into February is going to be sleds and jigs month and a bit in Grumpa's workshop. I'm going to do sleds for the router table. For the bandsaw and the router table, I'll be doing the crosscut sleds. It's going to be a lot of sled building. Some I'm going to buy when it's more cost effective to buy, but some of the bigger ones are going to be on there. So that's the rest of January and February. sled videos and shop jig videos and that. The other thing is, now, oh yeah, because of sleds, I've got these ahead of time. I've been and did you know what they are? I bought 4 of them, and I may be getting more. Spin hold down clamps, beer, because I need to finish off the wheel press table, which has been there for 3 years, and I'm using it unfinished. So I'll finish that off with these, and I'll use 2 more on one of the manufactured sleds. The other thing now, a mitre gauge. What I have historically is, I used to have the old rosewood one, but that disappeared donkey's years ago. But I've had this for years. That's the single pin marking gauge, very simple. And I've got a very simple matching mitre gauge with the 2 pins. Wherefore I'm doing this is, over the past few years, I've been getting the blingy gauges, and I've not used them in anger much. So what I got was this Chinesium one, which is the single pin mitre gauge. It's got graduations down the side, and it's the roll blade. Now, actually, that little Phillips head is working loose. That has had some use on the lap joints I've been doing. So anyway, I've been using that, and the tail that's better cross grain and that's better with the grain down the wood instead of across. My experience is that there's some element of truth to that. If I go back to my #1 advisor, Paul Sellers, if you go on his website and his blog, he likes these. He doesn't like them because his experience with them is that these little blades shatter. So, and I've also got, so they're the 2 varieties of marking gauge, and I've now, with that was another birthday present, one of these Chinesium fancy, pretty blingy mortise gauge. So I've now 1 of each, and over 2022 I shall be using them intermittently and deciding whether I like the old British standard pins or the newfangled European American discs. And when I've decided, one of them's going. The only other thing that's come is Parkside again. You might still have them in your shops. That's been a brilliant buy. That was a £5, and it folds up in a jiffy, he said, and I can hang it on the wall. One of my projects this year was going to be a step stool out of a series of plans in a book, but I can't buy the wood for a £5 for that, and it doesn't fold up. So modern manufacturing processes and materials ruins the hobby woodworker again. So that's it. Now, I'm on a collecting jag, but I'm not telling you about that until a later video. But it's going to be focused down, and I'm not going to inflict a lot of it on you. But yeah, I've had my head turned by a couple of YouTubers over the past couple of months, and I'll be going down. I might show you a bit once in a while. That's that. Oh, that's it. Yesterday, I've not told you. The #1 son asked me to go over. We've put a fence post in. Yay! So went over and we dug the base out. He'd bought the 2 posts. He'd forgotten to buy the concrete base bags to fill the hole in, so I had to pick that up on the way. 2 8-foot lengths of 4x4 tannalised. When we got there, our clerk of works him digging the hole out. That was like when we used to take the kids on trips. Are we there yet, Dad? Are we there yet? No, we're not there yet. Is it deep enough, Dad? Is it deep enough? No. Now it's deep enough. So I had fun clerk of works in him, and then checking his level as we adjusted it. That was fun. So we got that nice and level, and I said, right then, I'm off for a cup of tea. You stand there for 20 minutes holding there. So that was fun. So this week I've got to finish those lap joints on the frame for the drive gates. All in all, a good week, and I'm suitably exhausted, and I'm looking forward to the next week. I've rabbited on far too much. See you soon, guys. I'm off for a cup of tea. You crack on in your workshops having fun.